Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm talking with my buddy, John Jackson, actually right here in the Dallas market where I'm at. John, I feel like I see you, of course, none of us are traveling right now, but I feel like I see you more at other events than actually in DFW or we're in some far off land and run into each other. But today we're going to be talking about lease options. And it's a great tool for using in this new market as we basically the market is lining up for this to be a great tool. It actually works in any market, but probably now more than ever, it's coming into the limelight again. And also talk about how to actually do these in Texas, where most people think that they can't be done. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to Real Estate Investing Secrets. We're all looking for freedom and the opportunity to live better, more fulfilling lives. But most of us were trained our entire lives to work for someone else and chase their dreams. How can we use real estate investing as a vehicle to achieve financial freedom? My life is dedicated to answering your real estate investing questions and helping you build an investing business that allows you to change your life and the world around you, and to enable you to turn your dreams of financial freedom into a reality. My name is Mike Hambright from FlipNerd.com, and your questions get answered here on the Real Estate Investing Secrets Show. Hey, John, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. Hey, good to see you again, man.
Of course. You and I have been talking a little bit more regularly lately, and I wanted to have you on the show and talk a little bit more about, what you do with lease options, because, if I have any kind of big regret of being an investor for 12 years now and doing hundreds of deals, it's that I really haven't used a whole lot of creative tools, and but having enough wisdom now to know that if there's ever a time to start to get creative, it's kind of when the market's turning down, and you might have to get creative sometimes, right? So you'd agree with that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've been doing lease options since 2003, and I've seen, I think, every market possible. The only market I haven't seen is one that was infected with a virus.
Yeah, nobody's seen that. Not in recent.
No.
Yeah, not in our lifetimes.
No.
Yeah.
No, but you know what, Mike, whether there's a virus or not, remove the market. remove the virus. It's still, markets are all cyclical. So it's a matter of where are you in the cycle?
Yeah, we guys like you and I have known there was going to be a downturn. I mean, everybody knows that, right? Nobody knew when it would be. I think probably most people assumed it would have been before now, like at this point, because it's been a long run with a good market. Of course, none of us knew it would happen, like you said, because of a virus. But maybe give us your background on real estate investing and talk a little bit about, I want to actually just literally talk about, after you're done here, what is a lease option, but maybe just share your background and then talk about if you started off right out of the bat with lease options, or if you were another type of investor and kind of found this tool, or kind of how that came about.
Yeah. So a real quick background on my story was when I used to be a day trader, a stock trader and options trader. And so I was a stay-at-home dad, options trader and stock trader, had the two computer screens. This is back in the day when you had 19-inch, two screens, and my office was like 105 degrees because the monitors were so hot. But so I did that for a couple of years. But because of that, I learned technical analysis very well. I learned how to read charts, Japanese candlesticks, moving averages, all that stuff. And then I wanted to get into real estate. And when I looked at real estate, Mike, this is back in 2003. So we didn't have nearly what we have access to now online. But I did find enough to know that there's so many different ways to make money in real estate, fix and flip, rentals, the rehab, of course. But every now and then I would run across something, a little blurb about lease options. Well, I knew what an option was because I was already trading options. That's how I was making my money. I was trading options. But as I was digging into lease options, I just couldn't find that much about lease options. At the time, all I could really find was lease options were a way to it was a way to get people into a house that couldn't qualify. They give you money down, and then a year you kick them out, and then you do it all over again. Okay, well, that's not good. You don't want to rip off people. But the actual workings of a lease option, I thought, if you take the workings of a lease option, and you structure it so it's a win-win-win situation, so you actually are trying to help people.
Yep.
Now you've really got something, and that's where Leasing to Buy started, my company, in 2003. And so ever since 2003, I've almost exclusively done what's called lease option assignments. Some people call it wholesaling lease options. It's all the same thing. You're flipping the lease option. And I've done some wholesaling as well. But to be honest with you, my bread and butter is lease options, because it's is just, for me, it's far easier than any other method in real estate. I don't even have to go see the house. I don't have to meet the buyer, the seller. And I work with nice houses. I don't have to estimate repairs or negotiate the price or anything. So for me, lease option assignments are really the easiest way to get started in real estate.
That's great. So why don't you maybe just high level say what it is? It's you're signing a lease and you have the right to probably assign it to somebody else. Is that how you do it typically?
Right.
And so you basically lease it and then somebody else leases it from you, or you kind of sublease it or whatever. And they have the option to execute and actually purchase it at the end of some term, right?
Right.
I don't know why I am trying to explain it in front of the expert. Dude, tell us what a lease option is.
So different types of lease options. I don't want to confuse anybody that's
keep it high level, yeah.
That may be watching. So I want to focus on just the lease option assignment, again called the wholesaling lease option, flipping lease option. So all that is you're not subletting the property. Subletting is where you, as an example, if I'm leasing a house from somebody or an apartment and I'm leasing it, but then I've got to relocate or move and I get someone else to sublet it. Now they're living there, they're paying me and I'm paying the landlord. So I'm staying in the middle. That's sublet. In this case, I simply have a contract with the owner. My company does. That gives me 90 days to market this contract, this lease option. Okay, here's my lease option contract. I've got it with the owner. Now I'm going to go market this online, sign the yard, everything. And the buyer, the family that's going to come along that is going to be interested in that is going to be somebody that typically can't get qualified right now for financing. Maybe they're pretty close, but they need a little bit of time. So this is a great way for them to get into at least into a house by doing a lease purchase or lease option, without having to come up with 10% down or 20% or having to get have a 680 FICO score. So we're assigning our contract to them. They pay us our assignment fee, and that's how we get paid. It's just simply from our assignment fee.
And so they're technically buying kind of an option, right? Just like if you any sort of option could be an option on anything, right? Like I have the option to buy something. I have a fee for that, right? This is the cost of the option. And that effectively is kind of your assignment fee. Is that how it works?
Yeah. So I get paid that assignment fee, that option fee. Now that's going to go towards their purchase when they go to buy the house. So they're not just losing it.
Right.
But we structure that lease purchase with the owner. Then we go out and market it. Now we're not on the hook for any payments. I want to make that very clear. We're not making any payments on the house. The owner knows we're not going to. The owner knows this is what we do.
Right.
We structure lease options.
Right.
Then we go to market that lease option at whatever those numbers are, 300,000, 14,000 down, whatever those numbers are. The people come along. Hey, we love the house. How much is it? It's 14,000 down, 2,500 a month. Okay, great. And there you go. We assign our contract.
And then you're out of it. And if they just option it at the end or to actually purchase it, then they're dealing directly with the seller, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. Well, that's pretty simple, right? And so, maybe explain why would a seller sell this way? Like they could obviously list it through a realtor. I understand. Obviously one thing could be if they wanted to sell it to like a wholesaler, they're going to probably having to sell it for way below market value. But that's typically not. They either don't want to give up the equity or they don't have the equity in some instances, right? And so that's not the solution that they want. So how does this make sense for a seller? Like who's a typical seller?
Yeah. So whenever I do a live presentation or even an online presentation, one of the things I talk about is the levels of desperation. And so it starts off with for sale by owner, and it works its way all the way down to very desperate, which is then foreclosure or short sale, right? So you've got all your different levels. So the sellers that we work with are going to be your first four levels. For sale by owner, anybody that's for sale by owner, hey, let me talk to them. For rent by owner, let me talk to them. Because if they're for rent by owner, odds are they tried to sell it and they couldn't.
Yeah.
MLS, I work with a lot of listed houses or houses for lease. Those are the first four levels of desperation. So I work with those people. And the reason the seller would consider doing a lease purchase is they get full price. There's no negotiating. They don't pay me a commission at all. And the buyer that's moving into the property through our program gets a home warranty. All the payments are made electronically. It's very, very hands-off. It's not your typical landlord type situation.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for a plan B, because the seller of the plan A is someone comes along and says, hey, I see you want 300,000. How about I give you 310 and here's cashier's checks? That doesn't happen,
Right.
Oh, and here's a pony too. So when that doesn't happen and the house is on the market for 30 days, 45, 60, whatever, they got to start looking at, okay, now what are we going to do? What's plan B? Oftentimes I think that renting it out is plan B, which they didn't want to be a landlord anyway. But renting it out is not plan B. A lease option is plan B because they're going to get full price for the house.
Yeah. Yeah. And then let's kind of move on to why a buyer would buy. So I think some of it there is, people that might be, like you said, credit challenged. I have rentals and I have some owner finance deals that we owner financed. And to be honest, our typical owner finance type person that we sell to, not only has poor credit, they might never have good credit, right? They're just this is the way they can own. They can't get a government highly subsidized loan because they don't have good credit, or they have, they have a unique job where they're paid in cash, or who knows, like whatever. But it's not that they don't have money.
Maybe they were like back when I was a stripper. I got paid out of cash.
I wasn't gonna say, yeah. But there's a lot of people that make money in other. This is totally sounding bad, but there's just a lot of people that just don't have traditional play by the rules. This is my great credit score. Here's a copy of my bank account and my financials are all buttoned up. There's plenty of people that aren't that buttoned up.
Right.
It's not that they can't pay or don't want to pay or shouldn't deserve to have a house. It's just they don't fit the mold of a traditional FHA type loan, right?
Right. And so on the buying side, we work with buyers. Now, we're very picky about the buyers we work with. So we're not one of these people that says, hey, no credit, no problem. As long as you have the down payment, you're in. That's not how you operate a good lease purchase. And that's not how you facilitate a good lease purchase transaction. Right. So we would look for buyers that they may be 1099, which is what you're trying to say. I went down the stripper path, but that's okay.
Yeah, you went down a rabbit hole there.
But if someone's 1099, we know that people that are 1099, they may make this much, but they're going to write off everything they possibly can, And so they may not show that they make as much as they actually do. Or maybe they went from, I'll tell you something big for us, Mike, was back when Barnett Shale here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area was huge. Yeah. The big, for those listening, oil and gas business. We had a lot of people going from XTO Energy to Chesapeake Energy and all these different energy companies, right? And they were making good money, but maybe they would go from one company and go to XTO Energy. Well, now they're 1099.
Lots of job changes and stuff.
Yep, and suddenly they don't have 6 months of W-2. So now they need 2 years of 1099, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So we work with people that are close to finance, but just need some time to get things in place, whether it be another year's tax returns or whatever the case may be. Just some things to get in place. Sure. And that's what the benefit for the buyer is they can get into a house quickly, get the kids in school, and they don't have to go through 3 months of driving around with a realtor every weekend, trying to get all this documentation lined up, and all the headaches. They can just, boom, they're in.
Yep. And I guess one of the other benefits is you get to try a house on for size, right?
Yep.
It may turn out that you're just like, we've probably all certainly rented places like this before where you're there for like sometimes just a couple months and you're like, I didn't know there was, I didn't know there was this busy road right behind us, or I didn't know the guy next door has chickens and like I got to hear the chickens crow every morning or whatever, right? We kind of all have probably moved into some place where we regret like, oh, this wasn't a good fit for me. And in this instance, you could effectively move on without having to deal with selling it. You just don't exercise the option at the end of the term, right?
Yeah, and to put it in a little bit of perspective, if anybody listening or watching has ever leased a car, maybe you leased a BMW or a Mercedes, whatever, you leased a car,
right?
You actually had a lease option on that car.
That's right. Yeah.
Because you're leasing it, but you had the option of purchasing.
Yeah, that's right. I have a lease now. I had a lease before this. I had the same vehicle because it was easy. And when I turned it in, I clearly had the option to purchase it at a specific price. And I chose not to take the option because I could get a 3-year newer vehicle at the same payment as what they offered me. So I had the option, right?
Right.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great analogy. So, and then I guess one other benefit for sellers is, like you said, they can sell it for full price. They probably don't have as many realtor fees or commissions in there. And sometimes I know you tend to focus on houses that don't need a lot of work, right? And so but sometimes they're not necessarily in perfect condition. They might be a little bit outdated or something, and a seller doesn't necessarily have to go make a bunch of updates to the house.
Yeah. So the houses that we work with that I specialize in are nice houses, move-in ready.
Yeah.
Now, I will work with houses. Matter of fact, I just got a lead on a house that is in great condition, but it's a little bit dated, but everything's perfect in it. Well, for them to sell that on the MLS, they have to find a buyer that's creative enough to understand what to do with the wallpaper and the this and the that. Whereas with us, our buyers, they understand that, it needs updating, but it's in the right location and it's the right school district, whatever, and they go ahead and get in. But yes, the houses we work with are mostly, they're all going to be in move-in condition. So I don't work with handyman specials.
Sure.
I don't. Now I've worked with every type of house since 2003, and I found that my biggest problems were houses that needed work. It just became a headache for me. So now I just work with nice houses, move-in ready.
Yeah, 'cause I would suspect too. Part of what you're offering sellers is like, hey, you're still going to sell it most likely, no guarantees, right? Because they could not take the option, but it's going to be down the road. Like it's going to be at some point down in the future, and so probably people that would do a lease option on a house that needs a lot of work, they're probably less likely to exercise that option if it's a lot of work, because they're like, this isn't, exactly. I don't want to have to do the work, right?
Exactly. And on that same topic, that same point that you just made, I specialize in short-term lease purchasing. So I do 12 months.
Okay.
Because the longer the term of the lease purchase, the less likely the buyer is going to buy. So if you do, say, a 3-year lease option, as an example, well, a lot of, life happens in 3 years. And the buyers, maybe they get divorced, maybe they have another baby, maybe the kids move off to college, whatever, and now they don't need this house, or they got to move. Yep. So I do very short-term lease purchasing.
Yep. And I know you teach a lot of people how to do this too. And one of the things about, even though this is your primary investment strategy, for some people it's just a tool they have in their tool belt, right? Like if I can't, this house is pretty nice, they're probably not going to sell it to me at 60 cents on the dollar or whatever it might be. And indeed they make a cash offer and they're like, no, there's no way I'm going to do that. I would never do that. Then you kind of pull out, hey, I've got this other option that's a little creative, right? And you can kind of use that tool to say, well, here's another way I can help you, right?
Yeah. And so I actually have, actually before we started recording here, I was talking about the leads we have, and I just got, I've got 2 leads over here and a lead over here that just came to me. Sorry, fire truck's coming by.
It sounds like the cops are coming to get you.
Yeah, it's weird because they know where I live.
All right, that's a side joke here, guys.
So I get leads coming in to me from different investors. Literally, as you and I are talking, I'm seeing a lead coming on my phone from another investor that they don't know how to work it. They're like, it doesn't fit this mathematical model of 70% minus 70% ARV minus repairs, blah blah blah. And so if anybody that is out there talking to homeowners that's used to, offering the 70 cents on the dollar minus repairs, this and that, lease options are a fantastic tool to become familiar with, because they may not have 30% equity or 35% equity or whatever to make it work. They may not be that desperate. Again, for them to wholesale the house to you, they're way down the level they're like in step 5 or 6 of levels of desperation.
Right.
And so you want to be able, if they're not there yet, you want to be able to say, well, since this is a beautiful house and you want full price, I get it. How about this? Let's look at a lease purchase. Full price, no commission. You're going to cash flow each month, and our buyers will cash you out in about 10 to 12 months.
Yeah. And when somebody does a seller does a lease option, are they, maybe this is different by state, but do they still have the burden of maintenance and other things? Is that all the responsibility of the kind of tenant buyer?
Yeah, so our tenant buyer in our program, what we do, again, we've got it set up where it's really cookie cutter and just very streamlined, where our buyers actually get a home warranty on the house. So everything outside of like the roof is covered by the home warranty. Now, obviously, if the roof got blown off, then the homeowner would have to call their insurance company.
Right.
But that's why I say it's very, very hands off for
the homeowner. Still owns it. They're just they truly are leasing it, and at some point that tenant has the option to purchase it.
Exactly. Yeah. And we do, like I said, we do short-term lease options. So it's like I said, it's very hands off for the owner.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how this works in Texas. So you're in Texas, you do most of your stuff, you do a lot of stuff in Texas. And I think the average person thinks that lease options are illegal in Texas or you can't do them in Texas. But I know, in fact, just because you do it, that there is a creative way around that. Not illegal, but just a way that you do it that isn't
Yeah.
the way most people would do it, I guess.
Well, yeah. What's interesting is so I started this in '03. Well, September 2005 is when Rick Perry signed into law, the legislation for lease options. But here we are in 2020, as we're recording this, and there's still so much confusion 15 years later.
Right.
It's like in 15 years, I'm the only one that's ever read the actual law. And so what I did was I was heavily involved before the final bill was even passed. And when it passed, I stood up till 2:30 in the morning going through the bill, and with the property code in the bill, going through what applies, what doesn't apply, et cetera. And with Texas, there is a lot of confusion about Texas lease options. One reason is because the property code that governs contract for deed is Title II, Chapter 5, the property code. Well, the laws that govern lease options are intertwined within that same code. So you literally have to read through it and decipher, okay, what's the lease option, what's the contract for deed? If you don't do that, then you think all of the contract for deed laws applies to lease option, which it doesn't. So the biggest thing is, you can't do them over 180 days. Well, that's garbage. The law simply states that if they're over 180 days, that they're an executory contract, and you've got to fulfill these 5 or 6 requirements, such as mortgage disclosure. The buyer has to be able to make sure that the mortgage is being paid, those types of things. The law even goes on to say if it's over 180 days and less than 3 years, yeah, these 5 or 6 things apply, but just to make it clear, all these other things do not apply. The law actually says that.
Yeah.
So you've got to go through and say, okay, well, what is it that applies and what doesn't? And at the end of the day, it's very, very, I admit it wasn't a well-written bill, but it's very, you can definitely work with it. So I spend about $30,000 on my contracts through different law firms and attorneys. And so our contracts are exactly what the law wants. The verbiage that the law requires, we have the mortgage disclosure. And so, but again, we do 1-year lease options. We don't do over 3 years, so
Right.
We don't fall in any area there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you've got to have the right contracts with the right verbiage and the right disclosures. And it's actually pretty easy.
Pretty straightforward once you understand how you have to navigate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And it's unusual that would be a law at all or inside of Texas. I mean, Texas is generally pretty business friendly, right? So I think you were there when it all came about. There was like one person, right, that was taking advantage of a bunch of people, and that caused the whole blow up.
Well, you look at contract for deed law. The reason we have laws, the reason we have legislation about contract for deed was the tornado of 2000 that took out downtown Fort Worth and took out a neighborhood east of downtown Fort Worth that were all sold contract for deed, right? And so the investment company that owned those houses, when those houses got taken out, they were sold contract for deed to a bunch of Hispanics. Well, that investment company was collecting insurance premiums, but wasn't paying insurance.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Right. So now we got to have laws about contract for deed.
Yeah.
That's what started that. Well,
it was fraud. That was a bad thing. That was fraud.
Oh yeah.
That really had nothing to do with contract for deed. It was just that person was defrauding people of collecting money for insurance, but not actually buying. I mean, that could happen in a lot of different instances.
It can. So it wasn't that contract for deed is bad, lease options, but it just takes 1 or 2 people to really,
they just did some blanket
take advantage of people.
These are the bad people. It's like, no, that's not the vehicle that's bad. It was a bad person, right?
It's the same thing as lease options. Lease options aren't bad, but there again, we had people down in the valley that were taking advantage of Hispanics. And again, it only takes 1 or 2 people,
right,
to do things wrong.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. That's why Acorn got involved.
Yeah. So, what else have we talked? We're obviously keeping this high level, but what are some other things that we haven't talked about yet that we can kind of cover for a couple minutes, just on, I guess, kind of the benefits of using lease options for an investor, let's say?
Yeah, for the investor, the advantages are, and I'm sticking to the lease option assignment, the benefits for doing lease option assignment is again, you're working with nice houses in nice areas and nice people that you don't even have to go see the house. So I've done whatever the number is, I don't know, 650, I know over 650, but let's call it 700 lease option transactions. Well, I didn't see most of the houses. And that's important to make note of, given what we're in right now, is we're currently recording this,
Right.
which is the quarantine thingy. But I didn't have to see most of the houses. I didn't have to meet the sellers. I didn't have to go estimate repairs. Mike, I couldn't tell you. I have no clue how much it costs to fix a foundation. I have no idea. I don't even know how they fix it. I don't know. Some guys show up in a trailer and there's some concrete pillar things, and next thing you know, the house is great.
And yeah.
I don't even know how it works. So I don't have to estimate repairs.
You're dealing with houses that don't need a lot of repairs.
Yep.
Does somebody look at the house before you sign the agreement? No, you let the buyer, because the way you sign, I guess the way you set it up is you have if a buyer were to come look at it and say, this house needs a ton of work, I'm not going to do that. You could go back to the seller and say, hey, my expectations were different here, right?
Yeah, and believe it or not, it's never happened, you know? Well, I mean, let me take it back. There's been times where maybe someone walked in, oh, hey, I think they may have a leak in the back or whatever, something bizarre. Right. But it just doesn't happen because, keep in mind, most of the houses we work with, the reason I have to go see them is, first of all, the homeowners live and say, well, don't you need to come see the house? No, I'm looking at it right now because all the pictures are already online.
Right.
They've already tried to sell it.
If it was previously listed, I know you do a lot of deals for people that had it listed but couldn't sell it, right? So
right.
Yeah. That's interesting. And then when you sell it, you're just using like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist and things like that.
Yes, we put it on our website, Leasing to Buy. There we go, baby. Yeah, we put it on Leasing to Buy, which feeds out to multiple sites, and then we'll put it on Craigslist. We use Facebook Marketplace as well. And Joe, who's one of my coaches, sets up for our Dream Partners, sets up through Facebook Marketplace bots, Facebook bots. And kind of narrow them down a funnel, and then we can pick up the lead from there, send to a Carrot site, and there you go. Take the lead from there. I'll tell you one of the best ways to market the house. Believe it or not, it's still just good old signs. Now, I work with typically $250,000 houses and above, so I've got a nice professional, aluminum sign in the yard, but I've got nice coroplast directional signs leading people down to the house. Yeah. Signs in the yard actually drive a lot of traffic.
Sure. And do you market that this is a lease option? I mean, you don't say that necessarily the house is for sale, right? It's for lease with option to buy, or yeah.
Yep. I don't market as for sale because I'm not an agent. So I just market as, this is a lease purchase.
Right.
And so like even on our site, it'll show, the price, what the option fee is, and what the monthly payment is.
Yep. And the way you do this without being licensed is just the same way that anybody wholesales or assigns deals, is you're assigning your equitable interest in the deal. Is that right?
Yeah. On every house, I could actually move into each house if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've got a contract.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, that's really good stuff. So, John, if folks wanted to learn more about you and what you're doing, you've been doing this for a long time now. And you obviously if you're in Texas, I know that there's some people that need to understand how to navigate that a little bit differently. In most other states, it's even more simple than that, right?
Yeah. I'm known as my niche within a niche, of course, is Texas Lease Options, and even a lot of the national educators send their students to me, their Texas students to me. But yeah, people want to learn more about what I do, or some of the training we have, materials, the contracts, all that stuff. You can go to my site, which is leaseoptionclasses.com, leaseoptionclasses.com. And you'll see some videos there. You'll also see where we've got the training materials. If you want to work with me, there's an application we have where we can have that conversation.
And that's Lease Option Classes, like plural?
Plural, yep.
Cool. We'll add the link down below in the show notes. So Thanks always good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, Mike.
It's weird. Like I know over the past year, probably seen you 3 or 4 times. I don't know that it's, maybe once it was in DFW and it was in Tampa and like
Tampa. Yeah. Every time you and I see each other, it's somewhere other than here.
It's funny. I was just saying this a little while back. Eddie Speed, who you also know, was on the show. Same thing. In fact, he was just calling me like 5 minutes ago while we were doing the show here. I saw his name pop up. Same thing for him. I see him more outside of DFW than anything. So kind of funny how that works. But
is that right? Well, when you call Eddie back, tell him that I said it was very rude of him to call and interrupt our interview. Tell him that.
I will. I'll chastise him.
And Tom, I still think his accent is fake.
Cool, buddy. Well, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for sharing this information. I think it's honestly where we're coming into this market. If you're an existing real estate investor and you haven't been doing creative deals and lease options and tools like that, sub-2 wraps and stuff like that. I mean, we're coming into this market where if you don't have a creative tool in your kind of tool belt here, you're going to be missing out on some deals. I mean, you're already spending the marketing money to generate these leads anyway, and you can help liquidate some of those marketing costs just by using some different tools. So again, John, thanks.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much, man.
Everybody, thanks for joining us. If you have not yet subscribed to our show here, we've been doing this for 6.5 years. I don't even know what episode number this is, but it's a bunch, coming up on 600 here, I think. But if you haven't yet, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you're watching or listening to this right now. Of course, if you want to see the videos, you can access them on YouTube, or you can access videos, audio, the text versions, everything on flipnerd.com. So appreciate you guys a ton. Go subscribe, give us a positive review, tell your friends about us, hug somebody you love. Have a great day. See you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to today's show. There are 3 ways I can help you start or grow your real estate investing business. If you're a new investor and just getting started, the Flip Nerd Investor Coaching Program is the most effective program in America. I've been coaching and mentoring new real estate investors for 10 years, and my students have literally purchased thousands and thousands of properties. Many of them started with little to no experience at all. Our program is a paint-by-numbers program where we tell you exactly what to do week by week to make sure that you don't get distracted on your way to results. We show you how to build a real business, not just create another job for yourself. New memberships are limited. You can learn more and apply or schedule a call with me and my team at flipnerd.com/coaching. If you're an experienced investor doing a minimum of 10 deals a year, up to 500 deals a year or more, or have a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio already, you should check out our powerful Investor Fuel Real Estate Investor Mastermind. Over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors are members, and it's not uncommon for our members to 2 to 5x their business just from getting around other members at Investor Fuel. At Investor Fuel, each of us are business advisors to one another's businesses, but we don't stop at business. We focus heavily on becoming better people and living fuller lives. If you're looking for fuel for your business or fuel for your life, please check out investorfuel.com. Applications and interviews are required, as most investors are not a fit for our community. Please learn more at investorfuel.com. If you're not ready for coaching or masterminds but eager to start learning more about investing, please join our private Facebook group by visiting flipnerd.com/Facebook. New members get access to free training from us right here at flipnerd.com, and it's a community to safely ask your questions, a great place to get started. Simply go to flipnerd.com/Facebook to request your access today.